Today we're talking about nut butters. I'm Susan Bowerman, registered dietitian, and you know, nut butters are really popular and for good reason. Nut butters are a good source of protein. They have vitamins in them like vitamin E and folic acid. They have minerals like zinc and copper. And they're easy to eat because they're not perishable, so you can keep them around, spread them on a cracker or a piece of fruit. But let's talk about the different nut butters that are out there because surprisingly, they're not all made from nuts. Let's start with the one that you probably know the best, which would be peanut butter. Some people don't know that peanuts technically aren't a nut, they're actually a bean. Most of the time when you buy peanut butter, it comes in two forms. The type that you often see at the supermarket is just your plain spreadable peanut butter, where the oil has been mixed into the peanut butter and it doesn't separate. If you buy the natural style peanut butter, you'll notice that the oil is going to float on top. And the reason that the oil floats is because the oil hasn't been artificially hardened. That's what they do with the regular style peanut butter that you often see at the grocery store. They've hardened that oil to make it smooth and to mix in well with the peanut butter, but that means it's saturated and it's not nearly as healthy for you. We also have nut butters that are made from toasted soybeans. All of these offer up about 8 grams of protein in 2 tablespoons. Although they do come at a high calorie cost, it's about 200 calories regardless of which one we're talking about. The soy nut butter has a little bit more protein because, as you probably know, soybeans are a really rich source of protein in the plant world. So that's a tasty one as well. Soy nut butter tends to be a little bit bitter though, so sometimes the manufacturers will put a little bit of extra sugar. So read your labels just to be careful. Now, if we're talking about true nut butters, the other ones that I have on the table today are walnut butter, and I have some that's also made from pistachios, and I have almond butter, and these are just regular tree nuts. Generally, when you buy these at the store, they're going to be just a natural style nut butter. The little bit of oil is going to float on the top. Just stir that up. If you keep these nut butters in the refrigerator, they tend to not separate quite so much, and that'll make it a little bit easier to spread. I have a couple of other ones here I wanted to talk about because they're not technically nuts and they're not technically beans. Cashew butter is an interesting one. The cashew nut that we think of as a nut is actually the seed of the cashew fruit. Cashew butter has a very interesting flavor and it can substitute for any of these other nut butters whenever you have a recipe that it calls for it, or when you just want to spread it on a cracker or a piece of fruit. The other two that I have out here are butters that are made from seeds. So I have a sunflower seed butter here, and again, it's made from the seeds of the sunflower, and you probably have eaten the sunflower kernels before. It's very, very tasty. And the last one I have here is a sesame seed butter. Some people know it as tahini. This one's very strong tasting. Sesame seeds have a pretty strong flavor, so most people don't just eat that spread on a cracker, they might use it in a recipe. But a little spread of peanut butter on something like a whole grain cracker makes a great snack. Again, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, which is more than I have on this cracker. It will cost you about 200 calories, but you are getting 8 grams of good quality plant protein. If you want to cut your calories a little bit, you can do what other people sometimes do, is take some of these nut butters and maybe spread it on something like a vegetable. We used to do this for the kids when they were little. Of course, we'd sprinkle raisins on it and call it ants on a log, but that's what we used to give them when they were in preschool. But that's a great way to cut your calories because there's almost no calories in the celery. The other popular way that people like to eat nut and seed butters is to take a little bit and spread it on a piece of fruit like a cut apple. The tart apple and the sweet flavor of the nut butter goes really, really well together. So these are great. They're nice to have around for snacks. As I say, they're not perishable. They're convenient. They do provide protein and vitamins and minerals and fiber. Just be mindful of the calories when you eat them.